A-Train Sports Talk Podcast. Yes, that's right. I said new because to those of you who've been following the A-Train Sports Talk Podcast, y'all know I have it on another platform, but due to some changes being made, I've switched it over to this platform, which is why it's the new A-Train Sports Talk Podcast. Still, you're going to be getting that same great content. Here it is on a Friday, and I am elated because there is some news that had just broke not too long ago, and I have some audio. So I am going to try to pull this audio up because it is news coming out of Wichita State. And I am going to try to share it as soon as possible. So, here we go with this breaking news out of Wichita State.
I just want you all to know that I have all the faith in Coach Mills' plan, and I will be a part of it. Because I want nothing less but to help lead this team to the right direction this upcoming season. I just hope to see all of you there as well. Go Sox.
Those are the words of one 7 foot, whatever his weight is, Quincy Ballard. That's right, you heard it. First, we get the news that Kobe Rogers, WSU's sharpshooter, who even broke records in his long season of playing, decided to enter the transfer portal. Fast forward to today, we get news that Quincy Ballard is staying. He's returning. That's good news. One of the biggest gripes with the transfer portal is you're basically looking at a new roster each and every year. Gone are the days when you have players stick around for 2, 3, heck, even 2 years is a stretch. Walk-ons don't even stick around, let alone starters, especially if they're good enough. At best, we're in one of those time machines of Wichita State. Whereas Wichita State used to be viewed as a stepping stone job for coaches. Mark Turgeon came here about 5, maybe 6 years. Moved on. Bounced around a few spots. And now he's sitting on the sideline. Of course, Greg Marshall went against what would be considered the norm for a program of Wichita State status, and he really put Wichita State on the map and cemented their place until things happened the way they did, which ushered in the Isaac Brown era, to which, let's just say, it was some unsatisfactory progress after his first year, and it was time to make a change, which brought in the Paul Mills era. So what has Wichita State since then become? It's become a stepping stone for players to audition and move on to higher grounds. Ricky Council IV. Jaquan Walton. Of course, we're not going to talk too much about him. And now, Kobe Rogers, to name a few. Of course, this isn't that new for Wichita State players to be in the transfer portal. Wichita State had a mass exodus under Greg Marshall. You stop and think about it. Grant Sherfield, Jamarius Burton, Eric Stevenson. Then after the team ran it back, after they tried to run it back after winning the AAC championship under Isaac Brown's first year, they tried to run pretty much that same team back. To which I say that Isaac Brown in that instance was loyal to a fault. He was loyal to the players that stuck around in the program for the longest, which would have been Morris Udeze, Dexter Dennis, Tyson Etienne. I think the chemistry was off when Tyson Etienne had his breakout season and came back and was pressing just a little bit too hard, tried to make everything about him. So now we fast forward to hearing the news that, hey, Quincy Ballard. That's the whole thing that the fans have been wanting. To know that someone is coming back that's a familiar face that the fans can relate to. And today, they got that in the form of a Quincy Ballard. So, what is it that we can say about Quincy Ballard? Well, he came here when Isaac Brown was the coach. Isaac Brown was the one that recruited Quincy Ballard. He's out of Syracuse, New York. He went to Florida State. Things didn't work out there. He came here. People said he was raw, unproven. Then his first year that he got to play, he was dealing with injuries. And I'm glad that came out, that not glad that he was injured, but glad that it came out that he was dealing with injuries, because I myself was one that said that Quincy Ballard was underutilized. What was the extent of his injury to this day? I still don't know, but I am told it was legit injury that pretty much sidelined him. So then we fast forward to this year, and you look at the first few games of the season, and now we're like, yeah, this is the Quincy Ballard we were hoping to see. As a matter of fact, the trajectory that he was on, because he started out the season, I believe, averaging double figures, him sharing time with Kenny Porto. But there came a point in the season where it seemed like more or less he took off, whereas Kenny Porto leveled off. But when I look at his trajectory of how he pretty much had a breakout season, and I still think the best is yet to come, honestly speaking. The best is yet to come. Now that he's familiar with Paul Mills is familiar with him. Who knows, he gets a little bit more freedom to really dominate the paint. I'm kind of old school. I think that in order to have a successful outside game, you have to have a dominant inside game. It starts with Q. Plain and simple. That's where it starts. It starts in the paint. If you can't dominate the paint, the defense is not going to respect you. And they're just going to dare you to shoot from three because your inside game is lacking. A dominant inside game is equivalent to a passing attack, is equivalent to a running attack in the football field. If the defense knows that you really don't have a running attack, they're just going to play the pass. If you have a dominant inside game, it opens up the outside game. So I'm looking forward to seeing Quincy Ballard back next year, because when you look at his trajectory, I can't help but to think of one Hakeem Olajuwon, and I remember watching him. They were playing in the NCAA tournament game, and at this time, he was very seldomly used, and they were playing in a game in which they were losing. Coach Guy Lewis decided, you know what, I'm going to climb our bench. In comes this kid. At the time, he was known as Hakeem Olajuwon. And all that happened when he first came in the game, and it's like maybe 2-3 minutes left in the game, started blocking shots, and my first thought was, well, how come this kid wasn't playing the whole game? He could have been a difference maker on the defensive end. They threw him a lob, he dunked it. His next season, Olajuwon has a breakout season. Dominant, big man. And that's the type of trajectory that I see Quincy Ballard being on. Next year, there's a possibility. Maybe Kenny Porto comes back. Maybe he doesn't. But I look at Quincy Ballard having that type of dominant presence. If not as, almost as quite as dominant as an Hakeem Olajuwon. I mean, he's proven himself even this year. Set the records for most blocked shots in the season. Had the most dunks in the season in 44 years since who else? None other than the original big dog, Antoine Carr. What I'm going to try to do here, I am going to try to pull up a little bit more information on Quincy Ballard. Because trust me, when he first came here and people seen his stat line, they were like, what? You have got to be kidding me. But we're going to take a look at Quincy Ballard's stat line. This year, as a junior, 7.4 points a game, 6 points a game. But that doesn't even tell the story. Because of what he meant on the defensive end. If he didn't block shots, he altered shots. Or he made people think twice before going his way. When you look at his 2021 season, he played in 18 games, 3.3 minutes, 1.2 points a game. 2021-22 season, 18 games. He digressed. 0.9 points a game. 2022-23, his first season at Wichita State, only played in 10 games. 50% free throw shooter, 2.1 points per game. But then you look at the 2023-24 season, played in 34 games, averaged 22 minutes a game, 71.9% from the field. His free throw percentage, which I think is somewhat misleading, 58.2%, but he vastly improved those numbers. Look at his trajectory on his free throw percentage. His first year, 28.6%, 33.3%, 50%, now up to 58.2%. And like I say, that's misleading because a lot of the games I had the chance to see him play, he had a pretty nice touch at the free throw line. Of course, he averaged 2.2 blocks a game. You take 2 times 34, and what's that? That's 68. What a difference a year makes. And we got him back for one more year. Who's to say those numbers don't go up to, say, the number on his jersey, 15 points a game, 10 rebounds a game. He made his announcement today, but prior to that, he was in the gym working out. Still dedicated. Season just ended, but not for him. No days off. So what I'm going to say is, thank you, Quincy, for staying. We look forward to another breakout year next year. What I'm going to do right here, I'm going to take a break. When I come back, I will have some more for you. So don't you dare go nowhere. It is the new A-Train Sports Talk Podcast. Your host and conductor. Yeah, this is the #1 podcast in the state of Kansas still. Ain't nothing changed. I'll be right back, so don't you dare go nowhere. Welcome back to the A-Train Sports Talk Podcast. This is your host and your conductor on a Friday afternoon. Bringing it only as I know how to bring it. And letting you just soak in all this good content on the state's #1 podcast. That's right, I claimed that. Anyway, some awards have been handed out. In Heights, T.J. Williams named Kansas Gatorade Player of the Year. Probably no surprise. However, T.J. Williams of Wichita Heights is named the 2023-24 Gatorade Kansas Boys Basketball Player of the Year, the award which celebrates the nation's top high school athletes for excellence on the court, in the classroom, and in the community, distinguishes Williams, who has signed with Wichita State as Kansas's best high school boys basketball player. The 6'5", 195-pound senior guard averaged 14 points, 7.1 rebounds, 3.8 assists, 1.6 steals, and 1.3 blocks this past season, leading the Falcons 23-2 to the Class 6A state championship game. Williams was a 2023 Class 6A first-team All-State selection and the VIPE Wichita Area Player of the Year. He finished his prep career with 1,278 points. Williams has volunteered locally on behalf of Better Academic and Social Excellence, BAASE, a Wichita-based high school fraternity. He has also donated his time to multiple community service initiatives through his church. Williams has maintained a weighted 3.17 GPA. Williams joins recent Gatorade Kansas Boys Basketball Players of the Year Mattis Buzella's 2022-23 Sunrise Christian Academy, Grady Dick 2021-22 Sunrise Christian Academy, and 2019-20 Wichita Collegiate School, and Kennedy Chandler 2020-21 Sunrise Christian Academy, among state's list of former award winners. Contributing writer for this particular article was my good friend, Jeffrey Lutz, who you can hear on the Bob and Jeff Show daily on KFH Radio. Him and his dad, Bob Lutz, the Bob and Jeff Show, you can hear them in their friendly back and forth banter, which I also want to say, if you haven't known, I will be a part of that show. Matter of fact, maybe I'm letting the cat out the bag, but on April the 4th, I'll be filling in on the morning show on 9 o'clock. So you might want to tune in. If you don't have nothing to do, tune in on April the 4th from 9 to 11. So I'm looking forward to that, as I am now a part-time fill-in radio on-air host. But we're going to look at some of the more top stories. Of course, we already have given you the story about T.J. Williams, but I also want to do a little bit of revisitation back to some of the state high school champions. As Capon brings home new hardware, Capon Crusaders, led by Will Thingvall, wonder if he would be a good fit in Wichita State. Just a thought. Fought tooth and nail to the last seconds of the title game against the Piper Pirates to squeak by with a 62-59 win, and are bringing home some new hardware. The Crusaders starting senior guard Thingvall played all 32 minutes, finishing with 29 total points, going 11 of 23 from the field, 2 of 10 from behind the arc, and shooting 5 of 10 from the free throw line. While he made a difference on the defense on the offensive side all night long, the difference maker was the final field goal shot taken with 41 seconds left. Capon was down 1 with 40 seconds remaining. Thingvall put his body on the line, drew a foul, and got the layup, taking the lead by 1 and heading to the free throw line where he sealed the lead. Another star for the Crusaders was guard Corbin Johnson, draining shots from behind the arc when it mattered most. Johnson finished with 18 points on the night, including 2 threes with 2 minutes left, helping regain the lead both times. The Maize South Mavericks faced an incredibly strong defensive front in the Topeka Seaman Vikings and came up short 54-51, finishing second in 5A state championships. The Mavericks could not find their footing on offense out the gate, and the Vikings took advantage of that weakness, going into the half with a commanding 12-point lead and keeping the Mavs at a distance throughout the game. Ashley Signee and company tried to keep themselves in the game, but couldn't fight their way back. Signee would finish with 23 of the Mavs' 41 points, shooting 40% from the field and going almost perfect from the free throw line, making 10 of her 11 attempts. The Mavs finished their 2023-24 season as state runner-ups with a 23-2 overall record. So congrats to Capon on bringing the boys' 5A state title back home. I also want to say to the Maize South Lady Mavericks to still continue to hold your head up. You had a great season. Understand that it did come up a little bit short, but one game does not define the whole season. I'm pretty sure you've heard those speeches, and I stand by that as well too. That one game does not define the whole season. You played a heck of a season this year, one of the top teams in the state, not just only in 5A, but throughout the state, regardless of classification. So I want to say that you young ladies, y'all made the town of Maize very proud, and the Wichita metro area. You carried yourself with class and dignity. So on that, I say hats off to you. You deserve an applause on that. So now what I'm going to do here, I am going to take another break because we are looking at March Madness, and there are some things I actually want to talk about. So yeah, I'm going to be all over the board today here on this one, but there are some things I want to talk about. There's a guy, his last name is Smitheran. Remember that name because he's about to get roasted in my next segment. So don't you dare go nowhere. It's the A-Train Sports Talk Podcast, and we are building up a head of steam. So don't you dare go nowhere. Be right back. Welcome back to the A-Train Sports Talk Podcast. It's your boy, your favorite conductor, the state's #1 podcast, all the above. That's right, it's yours truly, Anthony Smith, on a Friday afternoon. And it is March Madness. And in the case for some, it's March Sadness. Isn't it amazing how a whole state is upside down right now? Bluegrass state of Kentucky, after their beloved Wildcats. And you could just hear the clamoring right now for John Calipari. He can't get it done. The game is caught up with him. Now that everybody's getting paid, he can't keep up. What we going to do about him? Fire the coach. Question is, if you fire him, who are you going to replace him with? Now, I have a theory on that, though. I mean, if they could pay that man $11 million a year, I mean, think about it. If this is what Kentucky fans really want, and I'm just going on a rant right about now, but if this is what Kentucky fans really want, you have to realize where I'm at. I'm in Wichita, Kansas. We're paying not one, not two, but we're paying 3 coaches, plus, in my opinion, a former athletic director that does not deserve to get paid because he paid himself while he was still on the job when it wasn't feasible to be getting paid. So, Kentucky, if y'all want John Calipari fired, I have the perfect replacement for you. It will relieve a financial burden on Wichita State Athletic Department. Hire Greg Marshall. And for good measures, he can bring along Isaac Brown as his assistant. Kill two birds with one stone. Hire Greg Marshall. Do us here in Wichita a favor. And bring along Isaac Brown as his assistant. I know when some of y'all hear that, y'all gonna do this right here. Like that's a mystery right there. Or some of y'all are gonna take it as this right here. Y'all think that's a joke. I'm halfway joking, but I'm halfway serious. That'll free us up some money, and we can get some NIL money. And we can recruit and retain players. Hey, I'm just throwing it out there. And this probably be the podcast that everybody decides they want to share. Because somebody's going to be like, did y'all hear what he just said? Can y'all believe he just said? Yes, I said it. I said it. Kentucky. Think about it. If y'all want John Calipari gone, y'all could probably get another coach for less than $11 million. Just buy out the remainder of his buyout and set him up at about $4 million a year. And hey, it'd be all good. But there is a story that has really made the rounds. So prior to a recently fired coach putting his team on the court, he had some very interesting comments. And this is the recently fired Cal State Long Beach basketball coach. Here are his comments right here.
Opened up a little to the media.
Yeah, I don't have to answer anything I don't want to because I'm working for free today.
I love that.
So it's like you guys see the Seinfeld when George Costanza was trying to get fired and couldn't lose his job and still going to work every day, and that's me. I'm a Seinfeld episode going on right now in real life.
I guess that's why they usually escort people out.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Monson went on to say it's surreal but awesome. He will coach the team as long as they are still in the tournament. They'll face Arizona later on this morning.
It truly is the Cinderella story already before the tournament's even started.
So that was courtesy of KCAL News out of California. A real life Seinfeld. Well, as fate would have it, they lost their game. But the story does not end there, though. Because there is an athletic director, the one who fired him. His name is Bobby Smitheran. And he has some very not so flattering words. I mean, think about what this guy said and how it comes across. As a matter of fact, I am going to read these comments. He says, "It is my belief and hope." He says, "My belief and hope is that by doing what I did and the timing of it, they would play inspired." And that's what they did. Bobby Smitheran told the Associated Press on Thursday, a few hours before the Beach tipped off against Arizona. "I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. You're not trying to pat yourself on the back. Yeah, right." Let's read that again. He says, "I'm not trying to pat myself on the back." but it worked. Really? 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 What is the problem with these athletic directors and their massive sized egos? I've lost count how many coaches have lost their jobs before they can really even get off the court. And then the coaches are still expected to have a press conference at such a time like that. Come on. And then you have this guy, Bobby Smitheran. I could think of some other names of his last name. But like I said, this will probably be the one that goes viral and will probably get me in some hot water. But think about it. His last name is Smitheran. I'd much less like to smear his name and make his name mud. My take is, if I'm a coach, this is the last guy I'm going to listen to as far as taking an offer from. This guy comes across almost as bad as Jerry Jones. Maybe neck and neck, maybe a tie. But it sounds like someone with an ego the size of a Jerry Jones. That's how this comes across. Once again, my belief and hope is that by doing what I did, and the timing of it, they would play inspired. And that's what they did. Bobby Smitheran told the Associated Press on Thursday, a few hours before the Beach tipped off against Arizona. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. But it worked. EGO. Ego. Didn't nothing you do work. As a matter of fact, not only do you have to hire a new coach, staff, don't be surprised if you look up and all you have are 3 players left on the team because everybody else outside of jumping in the Pacific Ocean has decided to jump into the transfer portal. Let's see how this works out for you next year. That was how can I say it? A non-compassionate, self-centered, egotistical move on your part. And the one who's going to suffer is you and your basketball program in the long. Matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if your other sports programs suffered. Because the other coaches have to be thinking, wait a minute. If this is how he felt and this is how he's doing, the basketball coach, we're not exempt from it. If he did him like that, who's to say he won't do us like that? So Long Beach State's sports programs, beware. Coaches, beware. You could be next. And this all stemmed from the fact that they were on a 5-game losing streak. And he decided before a conference tournament that he wanted to fire the coach. Not thinking they could have turned things around. Well, I went on my rant for the day. Just wanted to introduce you to the new A-Train Sports Talk podcast on a new platform. I'm going to still be doing my other one as well. I do have some interviews lined up. Looking forward to them. I'm going to do something I normally don't do. I'm going to let the cat out the bag. Looking forward to having Joanna Chadwick on. Y'all see her articles and updates in Vipe, Kansas. Also, Player Spotlight. Looking forward to having Madison Smith on the train ride as well, too. She's a senior from Derby High School, played on the basketball team, has signed her letter of intent to play at Butler County, to which I have something to say about that because I know of 3 recruits that Butler County is getting next year, and I can't help but to see how they're all going to gel. Well, 2 of them already got chemistry together. The other one also played at a high level from Maize South. So my question really is this right here. Even with just the recruits that I do know, not seeing their whole recruiting list, could Butler County, starting next year, give Hutch Community College a run for his money? Remains to be seen. But I tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead, bring this train into the station. Hope you enjoyed it. Share it. Tell your friends the train is still rolling down the track. Yes, this is your conductor, Anthony Smith. Until the next time, take care of yourself and each other. Enjoy the weekend. I'm out of here.